yourself if you wanted to.
Is that what we are paying for the easement? 7,900
For what?
the easement?
I don't.
It says 7,900 at the top right of the packet.
I think so.
Wow, that's not bad. I thought it was gonna be more than that.
I think the original going around was more lands, and that was
That was like
12 or
12, okay.
Yeah.
You should have no problem hearing it.
Thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com.
If I don't,
You're helping people around the world.
So we ended up just getting the driveway.
So
Okay. I was gonna say, we didn't get to get all that land.
But he was willing to sell
Um,
Is it?
I would
Yes.
think we should be willing to-
For that price an acre?
it. He didn't say. No, that easement price.
Well, thank you.
You're the only participant in the conference. The recording has started.
Everybody hear that?
Whoa.
What?
Yeah. Everybody should have a green light. You got a
Huh?
green light, Deb, back there?
Monday.
That shows every light.
Yeah, it is.
I couldn't hear you guys.
I brought all my Halloween candy too.
In and out.
Well,
All
they're,
kinds of
You and Fiona both were,
that was cutting it out pretty good on me too,
but it was
so.
like an echo. You and her were both doing.
I think what happens sometimes is if we'll put some speakers next to their microphone.
Yeah.
Gavel, have an echo,
Gavel.
I think that would be
Um,
funny.
and then sometimes it cuts out.
I'll buy you one.
This,
I'll buy you
But I
one.
think we got to stop
tonight.
it.
That's a real gavel?
So
I usually
I
do
don't
it.
really
Break it.
understand Fiona.
You're fine.
I figured she was going back tonight.
So is the library,
Yeah.
I
Well,
came early
just need
because I thought I might
I
go to
just
the
need to get
library,
my
but
head
I see
around
it's not open tonight.
what's
So
the
is
issue
it back
here,
open
who's
and all?
needing what,
Because
and
we
I got my questions answered, so.
need to figure something out because they have a,
Supposedly,
supposedly,
I heard
they
across
have a
the
lot of
line.
cash. And they haven't made a cash deposit with us for,
Is that a microphone?
since last October.
Okay.
So
That's
I don't know
weird.
how we want to go about that, if we want to do a audit of some sort.
I'm guessing it's their fines. I mean,
How
we had
Well, they
cash, but
sold some
we.
equipment too, didn't they?
bigger than that grocery
Wow.
store.
I didn't have anybody at my house.
Yeah.
Well, then that money should have come
All
back
candy
to
for
the city
yourself.
Unless they were gonna purchase
I just
something
bought a
else
little
with
bag
it.
because I don't usually
Even
get
then,
very
some of
many.
these
Yeah.
Carol Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
hey, Deb,
Mhm.
has the library made any cash deposits over to you guys yet?
No.
No. And that's been since what, October? Is that what we found out? October of last year?
Year ago.
So,
You don't normally get very many anyway. We didn't know it in our old neighborhood because there wasn't a lot of kids around, so.
good.
Well, that's, most
I
of them
bet
are
it's
just like
tasty.
grown up and left. I've got a few young ones coming in now.
Yeah.
And we-
Most of them go down Main Street, the trunk or treat.
Yeah, good. Kids know where the best houses are.
Aren't you
I
excited
had one
to
guy
end all the
giving out
political phone
Hot
calls
Wheels.
tomorrow?
He
I had
had
like 12 today.
79 Hot Wheels.
I had
You know
text
what?
after text after text.
That'd be good. That'd be like right up there with the
Anything.
the
I had 0.
Really?
full-size candy
I've
bar.
never had a single one on my cell phone.
My favorites
Oh,
are,
I'd rather have a
yeah,
cell phone.
I do.
Yeah?
mom keeps her
Yeah.
specifically.
Exactly. And if you're ever like out and about and they ask for your phone number, you give them that.
Engineering is here. Welcome. My favorites are, I get, this is Don Jr. with the Trump for President campaign. Yeah, they text, yeah. My father says you're our biggest donor. I've given them a big text, you say. Donate now for 1,000 times. Email. Okay, I'll do that. What's 1,000 times 0? That's 0.
It's Christmas.
Yeah.
You didn't even need to
It's
bring
Happy
supper, Ken.
Halloween. Happy
Had
Halloween.
candy for supper. What am
And
I
cookies.
thinking about?
Doug brought
Cookies.
cookies.
We think we now have microphones. Huh?
Chicken.
That's good.
Thank you.
Supposed to ask.
I'm just giving you a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
Is there a concern with the current state of things?
Pardon?
For the polls, I think you have to get rid of it.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I'm supposed to ask because
There's so
some people are concerned about that, so.
I'm passing these down.
Keep them over there.
You need cookies?
Right.
It didn't.
They said they don't
Okay,
want
all right. As long as Tony appreciates it,
I'll
I'll
sit
put
back
us on
here.
the list to
There you go.
still do.
They'll pass?
All right.
it. I'm going straight home to
I usually get to the tired part while I'm here, and then I get past the tired part.
You get
And I-
keyed up, and
Yeah,
I
then I get my
sometimes,
second win.
sometimes I do from all the like conversation and stuff. I go home and I'm like, I need to go to bed, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I just need to
I'm
tape this
here.
down.
And I'm
Around
like,
like
listen to the
candy.
thing. And I'm like,
I don't know why it gets moved.
Hyper.
Probably because I come in here and start messing with it. We good now?
I had
No,
this tonight. We had to medicate the sheep, so mom and I got a barn. Or a camera.
Okay. That works.
There you go. Okay.
So listen, mom. Yeah, it was.
That's why I said.
Yeah, we're not running that big of a delay.
I just got notification that nobody can see Steve. FYI.
So
Steve now can be seen.
people did want to watch.
Four watching now. Hey,
Good idea.
this is gonna go viral, folks.
2 out of the 4 just texted me.
Discuss where this is going to be seen at,
Wrong numbers.
Where
so people can look at this. Because
I'll-
John Johnson wanted to,
I will repost this link. Control C. Facebook. We might run 1 minute behind. So I'm gonna this and mute myself, right? Mute yourself, yeah.
Steve, is your neighbor moving?
Yes,
you wanna
Is he in town or?
make sure.
leave?
Omaha.
Oh, that's quite the jaunt.
Family
We had somebody break into the shelter,
health
Okay.
issues,
broke out one of the
wife's
sliding
side.
windows.
Okay.
Tree.
So they need to
I
relocate
mean, there's something
closer to help.
to keep an eye on.
I'll miss him being down there at the store.
Yeah.
That is a place that whenever I'm in town, I do drive through the park at least a couple times. Army Post Road.
I
know.
Is that Mel?
Yeah.
He moved?
He is in the process.
So that is a good spot for us.
All right, I got 6:31. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug. Yes. Ken.
Yes.
Approval of the agenda in front of you. Got the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there anything that needs to be moved?
Do we want to move the engineer up in front of the city clerk, since we will be having, Tiana, on the call? I believe, isn't that correct, Deb?
That's the plan.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, so
Underneath the city clerk.
if we move engineer to, before the city clerk.
Go into F. All right, we can do that. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ken,
Second.
second by Megan. Discussion. Hearing none. Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to citizens forum. At this point, we will ask any citizens if they have anything to speak up. Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, departmental reports, starting with the sheriff's report. What do you got for us today?
Well, she just let me know that you guys had a break-in at the park, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. So we'll try to spend more time at the park at night. Things that are going on with the office, with completely funded by donations, we were able to put AEDs in about half of our patrol cars. So if anybody here participated in that, we thank you. The office did just buy a couple of drones to use for search and rescue, crash mapping, things like that. And then I don't know if you guys handle it in-house or if you contract out for your website, but the website does say that the city council meetings are on the second Monday of the month. so you might want to look into that.
Thank you.
So,
It's in
Good, good point.
so, yeah, like I said, I didn't know if you handled it
Steve's
in-house.
probably still there.
So,
How about it, sir?
Yeah. You guys have anything for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the last meeting,
Mhm.
a citizen provided a complaint about policing. And I don't have it with me. Deb, do you have it? And was it shared with the sheriff's office?
I know I talked to you about it.
Okay, yeah, I think we talked on the phone a little bit.
I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure that you had a copy of it, or the sheriff's office had a copy of it.
Okay.
And that, you had an opportunity to respond since it, was a complaint that, was brought up at city council last month.
Okay.
And, normally, your office would respond back to the council, or
Okay.
what,
I
is
think
the
it,
normal process?
I'm trying to remember. I know we did talk on the phone. I think it had to do with underage drinking.
Underage
Yes.
drinking,
that
having a deputy call out, deputy, apparently didn't do his job and just left, after a very cursory examination. And there were definitely underage people there.
Okay.
So he just said, anybody underage? Everybody says, no, they're just fine, and that was it.
And that was, okay.
You
Okay.
can take that copy with you.
Okay, great. I will, I'll pull the call. I'll look at it, and any information I can give you, I'll give you next month.
And it
So,
seems that that is not the only incident that happened.
okay.
If I remember the complaint correctly, they said that that was more of a pattern than a single incident. And then the question was, what are we getting for the fee that we pay?
Okay, gotcha.
I have also had several complaints about trucks in particular, but vehicles racing down Main Street,
Okay,
speeding more than, what is it, 25 or 30, whichever section of Main Street you want to take.
okay.
And it seems like it's getting
And when you say trucks, you mean pickups?
I guess.
Yeah.
Is it any, like, particular hours, or just kind of all the time?
This particular complaint was at night,
Okay.
so
Evening time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can put that out to our second shift guys.
Perfect.
So,
Anytime after 3, because they race up and down after school,
yeah.
around 5.
okay.
I've
Yeah,
seen
pick a
them.
time.
Mostly high school kids, probably.
Yeah, or 20-year-old.
Okay.
People who seem to never have grown out of high school.
Right.
I did catch one of the deputies sitting up by the water tower a week or so ago and visited with him about, we've got a lot of vehicles that are parking and just sitting for weeks at a time.
Okay.
Our ordinance is 72 hours, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that some, and he acknowledged that he thought that when you're down here that they would not chalk tires, but put hangers on it and then check back or whatever you do. But that would be something that would be a good use of time too. And it's not all just cars, it's boats and trailers and lots of things.
Yeah, our ordinance talks about vehicles and then defines vehicles as anything that travels on the road. So a
Okay,
trailer and
Trailers and,
Right, so we
Okay.
would appreciate getting some of that moved.
Anything else for Story County?
I think we've done enough damage.
Well, welcome once again.
no, it's actually really good to have feedback. I mean, some of the stuff, if nobody tells us, we don't know.
Right.
You know.
Do you got a business card? Good business
Yeah.
cards or?
Yeah, I think I left some last
Left
time, but
some there
I'll
last
leave some
time.
more. I'll leave
Okay.
some
No,
more.
I got
No
a
problem.
bunch over here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Have an uneventful night.
I hope so.
Yes.
Moving on to the fire department report. They had 6 calls with 22 people, no injuries or accidents. The breathing air compressor was serviced in October. And then we ran it again yesterday. We're supposed to be running that. I think we had 5 hours of time on the air compressor for the whole year last year. So they're asking us to at least once a week or more than once a month get in there and run that. So we're going to be starting to do that. No special
Appreciate it.
events,
Thank
no future plans, nothing that the city needs to do. So anything for Tony and the fire department? Hearing none, moving on to EMS report. They had 10 calls from 10-1 to 11-1. Out of those 10 calls, they had 4 that they responded to. Cambridge was page 3 per Story County Sheriff's Office. Number of personnel, they had 13. Of those people, 7 were certified. No fire assist, no injuries, looking like no maintenance, no training coming up or anything like that. The concerns for the council, they need to vote a new member on, Sharon Welch, and then no special events coming up. The new voted member was Sharon Welch at the department side. She's currently an RN, and her RN exception has been submitted to Story County Medical Center for review. And it looks like Cole now has his EMT, so we now have more certified personnel.
Move approval of Sharon.
Moved by Steve. Second by Alex. Discussion. Hearing none. Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Sharon is officially on. Any other concerns for Shelby and the EMS?
Has anybody talked to Cambridge? I know.
I don't know.
Not that I know of.
I just want to make sure everything's kosher over there with that whole issue. That
I haven't heard any good and I haven't heard any bad. So
perfect.
I don't remember all of it. I know we were gonna talk about maybe a financial contribution.
Yeah.
Is that what we just said?
Anything else for Shelby? Hearing none. Moving on to the library reports. We have the meeting in front of you. For October, they had 161 books checked out, 54 movies, 93 in attendance, 93 bridges, and 81 items on hold. They are currently open by appointment Monday 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and open to the public Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday 4 p.m. to 7, and Saturday 9 to noon. They're continuing cleaning and sanitizing. Library switched to a new automation system called Apollo. Crystal finished the annual report for the state. They have a grab and go activities available for the kids. Upcoming events, Crystal will be handing out goodie bags on Halloween. When I drove by, it seemed like they were pretty packed with kids stopping by, so that's good. Crystal is working to get everything right with the new system. She will be starting the accreditation recertification process, and they're going to continue to clean and sanitize. Anything for the library?
I know they're going to be asking to pay for that Apollo out of their trust fund, something.
They didn't have to pay for that.
What is the old software they had,
Alexander.
had an annual fee of $1,000. From a certain month to a certain month, there was licensed. And first question I have, is, the new software, is it starting at the end of the license period for the previous? Or is it starting somewhere in the middle so that we're ending up with, two bills in the same year for two different software?
The software for Alexander just expired.
So it expired, and in lieu of Alexander, we're going to this new software.
That's what Crystal told me today.
And so there's only $800 that is needed for the migration fee, because they already have in their budget the money that the $1,000 that they would have spent to renew the other.
Sounds reasonable. I'll check with Crystal on that.
And this one, if you guys read the front page, there's a $900 yearly fee to this as well. And you said it was $1,000.
The old software was, according to the next page, the old software was $1,000, and the new software is $900, so that's a good deal.
Yeah.
$800 conversion fee. So it
As long
is
as they use it over
reasonable.
8 years.
It's reasonable to take that out of their trust fund, because that is for capital or large expenditures which could not have been otherwise planned. So
Sure.
it certainly meets the criteria. And as long as we don't have two charges for software in the same year, this is a good move.
Good deal. Perfect.
So in order to transfer funds from one fund to another, that has to be done by resolution. We cannot do that. But if the council, since we have a request from them to do it, it certainly could be put on the next agenda.
Is there any other discussion why we shouldn't do that? We'll go ahead and do that next meeting, Deb.
Yep.
Anything else for the library? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public works. The new truck should be here in December. I talked to Tony. It was supposed to be here in August. And his inkling is that the dealer forgot to order it. So, yeah. So he's not too terribly happy about that. Restrooms in the park are shut down for the winter. We pumped approximately 1.4 million gallons of water, and about 1.2 million gallons of that were sold. As far as sewer, we pumped about 2 million gallons of that. The work has started out at the lagoons. DNR will be here on the 3rd for sewer inspection. Anything for public works? Oh, yeah.
Street lights.
Yep.
Where are we on the street lights? I know there's a dark spot down here on Main Street. I know that pole's leaning about.
I called it in.
Is it gonna be replaced or what's the deal?
It's supposed to be replaced. We had to go out and take all the flag holders off of them because they were going to replace them last spring. So
Now the storm came through and knocked them off 45 degrees.
Yeah.
So. See what
All right. Anything else? All right, we're moving from item E straight to item G for the engineer report.
is Tiana online?
Tiana, are you with us? Tiana, are you with us? Take that as a no. She's not.
Is there something that she needs to be here for?
Possibly. I can summarize as best as I understood. We had a phone conference this afternoon. This is with regards to the wastewater treatment plant improvements. What we're working on is pushing to get the loan application submitted to the SRF so that we can start drawing disbursements off of it because our contractor is working and we need to get him paid. So there were a couple items that were needed on the application that we're trying to get answers to. And so there was some going back and forth, and we finally just said, let's get together and figure it out this afternoon. So the three big things that we need to push forward, and this is what we discussed with everybody, were we need a final determination on the city's option to go what percentage with GEO, what percentage with just SRF. There was some confusion on how much GEO is looking to go, if any, versus how much on the SRF, particularly with the increased bid price that we got. That changes everything. The other end of that is because of that, Tiana needs that answer to be able to update her pro forma, which is required by the SRF, the IFA, to process the loan application. And then I should find my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. Which I may not have been. Let's see if I can go with memory. So the pro forma, and then oh yes, then the third thing we need to know is with the DNR, with certain types of projects, they will allow an extended term loan to go to a 30-year loan rather than a 20-year loan. But it has to be, they have to break down the life cycle or the design life costs of different components, and we've got all that to them to see if we qualify, and we do. So the city needs to make the determination of going with either a 20-year term loan for the SRF or a 30-year term loan. I know in previous discussions, the city has, I think rightly said, well, we prefer to have it done in 20 because some of the items, we don't want to be still paying on stuff years 20 to 30 that we might be having to replace at the time. However, the extended term loan could bring that increase in cost down for the impacts to the rates that would be more easier to swallow or easier to handle. So what Tiana's going to do is she's going to put together basically four options. She's going to look at a breakdown of 100% SRF with both a 20-year and a 30-year, and a split GEO SRF 20-year and 30-year, so that you guys can see what that pro forma looks like as far as what the impacts are to the rates. Because the rates that she had recommended and put together previously were based on the cost estimate and that 20-year loan. Now with the increase, that's going to change. So she's going to put that together so that we can see what that impact is and make an educated decision on what the city would prefer to go forward with. Once we have that answered, then we can start the process of getting that loan application to the SRF, doing all the council resolutions to be able to sign off on that loan. And so if Tiana hops on here, she can correct me if I misunderstood, but I believe that's where we're at on this. With that being said, obviously we just talked about that this afternoon, so she doesn't have those options put together. We would respectfully request consideration of a special meeting here in November to our work session, or I don't know what we call it, Deb. It doesn't have to be official. Well, it is an official meeting, but a work session, maybe a meeting, to present those options to you, go through that, hash through any questions you have on that, make that decision then, so that at the December meeting, we can start with the resolutions of proceeding that Allers will put together, of proceeding for that loan. And then we might, it looks like we would like to have then another special meeting in December or mid-December to keep that process expedited, because I'm really worried. Right now, I believe we're able to draw off the CDBG side of our grant to keep the contractor paid. But if we go too long, he's rocking and rolling. We're going to run up to, running out of available disbursement funds. So it's either going to have to come out of your general fund, or we'll have to beg and plead to give us some slack. So that being said, that's where we're at. We'd like to do a special work session in November. council meeting. We'll have some actions in early December, and then another special meeting in December, mid-December. And all are just putting together that official schedule. Basically, that would mean we'd be closing on the loan early January, as opposed to February if we didn't have all those meetings, which is a big thing for a contractor, because by that time we could have some pretty big pay applications. So,
So this stuff needs to get rolling.
with that,
This meeting has to come soon.
yes.
Get things rolling.
Yeah, so work session here in November. Tiana's got to have time to put that together for us. So today's the 2nd. I don't know, the week of the 16th, if that gives her enough time. I was hoping she'll have to chime in on that if that gives her adequate time. But
I would say
Would the 23rd work?
Sorry,
Nope.
not
Okay.
that week.
what about the 16th?
No.
the 16th
Anytime
would be
the
the 2 week.
16th, or anytime the week of the 16th would be.
It'd be pre-Thanksgiving.
The 19th south, that's a school board meeting.
Well, let's keep it on Monday night.
It was Monday the
Go
16th.
for the 16th, and hopefully Tiana could, will have her stuff ready. The
It was
next
unfortunately the 30th.
council meeting in December is the 7th.
Right.
And if we allow 2 weeks, that would mean the 21st, so it would be the Monday of the week of Christmas.
That might be a tough one. But it also doesn't have to be a fantastic meeting. It's basically,
Do we need 2 weeks between those? Anything?
that's going to be where all will have to come in on the schedule, because they're going to have to be the ones that prepare the resolutions.
We'll probably have to have some public
Yeah,
hearings.
and the resolutions, and you'll have to have your notice, your notices, which I think he was saying today that they might, he'll have to look at it, but he thinks we can publish a notice of hearing before having the other hearing, knowing that it's coming.
So maybe,
confirm on that. So
maybe we wait.
I would
and-
say start with the 16th, and then we'll go from there. If we have to bump out to the January meeting, we'll have to do it, I guess, but.
Well, I think we would have publication problems if we tried to move it forward from the 21st, and so that would mean moving it back to the 28th, which would be just a week before our January meeting.
And might not gain us enough, yeah.
And we would probably need the extra meetings anyway, because we'll be starting budget period. So
Make us excited.
I think we all are,
Yeah.
but that's the nature of the beast.
Seems like we just did.
I know.
Feels like we did that about a year ago. Yeah.
I know, it doesn't feel like it's been
Usually
that long.
in December, we talk about, goals, capital projects, things we would like to accomplish in general, and then start in the detail, in January, because by the end of February, we have to have it all done. So, the December, planning meeting, brainstorming meeting, is usually a special meeting, not a regular council meeting, and we just save it for budgeting. But instead of having 3 meetings in a month, it would make sense to piggyback that budget meeting with this other item, which shouldn't take too long.
It'll be a hearing, open, close, more than likely.
So tentatively for hours, which of the Mondays in December would the council prefer to look at? The
I'd rather have it
14th or the 21st?
14th.
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 Okay, so if Allers can do everything that they need to do with publications and everything else, we would prefer the 14th, and if they can't, then we may have to move it to the 21st.
Perfect.
Okay.
I would
Very good.
certainly have no problem with that.
Okay, good. Thank you for your consideration on that. We'll keep that rolling. In general, on the wastewater treatment plant project upgrade, update. They've got the access road mostly in. So they're gonna be keeping rolling on getting the dredging started. I think it's going well so far for them. Another item for council discussion, contractor has proposed value engineering or cost savings with some of the door materials on the new building. The new building has 3 man doors. The specification was for aluminum door with an aluminum frame. The contractor says he can save us a little bit of money. I think we mentioned this earlier, about $8,200 if you wanted to go to steel doors, painted steel doors. Depends on who you ask, the preference. Aluminum obviously is much more corrosion resistant. Steel doors have to be maintained with paint to keep them corrosion resistant. But if the city is interested in helping take a little bit off, and we'll continue to look for little ways that we can save money as we go. Obviously, $8,200 in the grand scheme of 4 million is small, but it's a little bit.
Something.
If you were interested in that, we can tell him to go ahead and proceed with the steel doors and get a deduct to the contract on that.
I would have no problem with it. Tony doesn't do anything anyway, so he can paint the door.
There you go.
Do a lot of paint for $8,000.
Yeah, that's true. It would be good, maybe community service for some
High school
young bucks.
Who's looking for that?
The truck drivers that are leaders that are going that. There you go.
Okay. I will direct them to go ahead and do that then, and we'll get a deduct on that.
I will say on the Oaks development, I know we didn't say anything about this yet.
Oh, yeah.
They have gone ahead and they've split the north and south sides out, and they are hoping by doing that it gains more interest with some developers.
Okay.
So I talked to the real estate agent on that last week because Doug and I had noticed that they had split it. We're like, get it somewhere. So
something's moving, maybe.
Other than that, there's been no other development.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And I'm gonna jump down for the sake of time. Just the new stuff. We've already got the EV ramp. We're already on the agenda. I think we've already got
High school's on the agenda.
and the easement we've already got on there too. So that's pretty much what I've got on my list here that isn't another agenda item. So yes.
You had a couple pages worth of comments for the school.
Yep. And we've got that as another agenda item, so I don't know if we can get to it now or get it to later we can.
Has the school has received a copy of the comments?
Yeah, so I submitted my comments to you guys, but I also copied the engineer, and he's online, I believe, too. But I also copied them, so they got it at the same time the city did.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, was that last week? I think.
Last week.
Yeah. So the city can add more comments to that if they wanted to, and obviously ours are a recommendation to you guys. If you want to waive any or say no, we don't care about that. That's obviously your prerogative, but that's our recommendations.
And your review strictly followed the development standard handbook that the city has used in the past.
Yeah, cities adopted the SUDAS standard guidelines, so that's what it's based off of, as well as just standards of practice for engineering. There are also a couple zoning items in there that come out of the city's zoning ordinances and bulk regs. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Anything else for Wes? Oh, geez. Hearing none, we will move on back to item F, the city clerk report. Looks like they had training for GWorks on October 21st via Zoom, various classes on the uses of their software. Deb says it was educational. GovPay is changing their format. They're going to watch a Zoom meeting on it. There won't be much of a change for us. Upcoming events, FEMA meeting November 10th for D, Tony, and Deb. Board adjustments meeting November 17th. Budget training on November 17th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. via Zoom. What is today? 17th. Do you want that to be a work day with the office closed, since it's Zoom?
We can, or I can sit back there. Dee doesn't go to them.
Okay. Perfect. We can discuss that later. Treasurer's report is in front of you as well, and the budget report.
On the treasurer's report, I see that we are in the hole $42,000 on the wastewater treatment facility. And that we have $117,000 to the good in the sewer. We are collecting sewer rates that in part go toward the wastewater treatment payments. And so we are just building up positives, and that $42,000 will be covered by the loan, and then we start paying off the loan. Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just sent in another, we should be getting another payment here pretty soon.
Okay. So we don't need to transfer anything from sewer to cover that. It just keeps accumulating in the sewer. And I thought Tiana was going to help us set up how that transfers, or how that money that we bring in is deposited so that it gets in the right place.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. We also have $94,000 in the hole on FEMA because of our the Dorito windstorm.
Yeah.
Something like that. And we have $20,000 in the emergency fund 119, $28,000 in FEMA. Is that because they've given us a payment toward that, or what's that $28,000 come from?
That was from previous years. I don't think we ever
Okay.
used it. So
But
we could
previous
transfer
years.
over.
The meeting that you're having with FEMA is going to talk about how much of this $90,000 is going to be covered?
Yep.
Okay, so it's still too early to do anything about that negative number. Okay. Wanted to make sure I knew what was going on.
We're also waiting for insurance money too, which will cover part of that 90.
I'm sure they also have nothing that they're doing at this point, right?
Right.
That's all my questions.
Anybody have any other questions for Deb? Hearing none. Moving on, item 6A, first reading ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Maxwell, Iowa by amending chapter 160, the floodplain regulations. In front of you, you do have that ordinance. Read through.
Move we open the public hearing.
Moved by Steve.
Second.
Second by Alex. Discussion.
Vote. Oh, yeah.
Hearing none.
Sorry.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
We are now open. Is there any public comment on ordinance regarding the floodplain regulations? Hearing none.
Move to close.
Moved by Doug.
Second.
Ooh.
Do Ken.
Second by Ken. Ken,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
The public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
Where did this language come from?
Came from the DNR because of the floodplain map changes that they've been working on. They've come up with this new language.
Does it hinder us even more than what we were?
Not really.
No.
The what are the city's options concerning these changes?
If we don't do the changes, we're not as open to FEMA money.
We're not kicked out of the program? It's just, we may
We're
not,
probably kicked out of the program.
okay.
I would assume it's the same thing that if you don't buy flood insurance for a house that's in a floodplain, you don't get FEMA.
Well, if we're kicked out of the program, then nobody would be eligible.
Right.
Section 1, definition of a base flood elevation means the elevation floodwaters would reach at a particular SIRE during the occurrence of a base flood event. What the hell do they mean?
I'll look it up for you. Google is one.
I was just kidding.
Sire.
SIRE.
It is the male parent of an animal.
No.
So the
A-
floodwaters would reach at a particular,
A respectful form of address for someone of high social status.
No.
Especially the king.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I
Keep going.
think we need to ask them,
Site.
if there's a
site.
typo,
I think it means site.
site, okay.
Particular site.
A
during the
particular
occurrence of the
site
base flood.
during the occurrence, okay, well, yeah, that would make.
Because on their
sense.
mapping, the base flood elevations are there a little squiggly line that goes up the
Right.
channel. So at that side, it's 732. At this side, it's 731.
I kind of like the other one. If the flood waters hit the king's house,
If it hits the king,
Well, then we have an
consider the
issue.
king being there, the whole town would be underwater.
Yeah.
That's right.
We'd be in trouble with that water up
The
here.
tail of the pig.
Yeah, that's
too,
right.
So.
Or stallion or bull,
So-
maybe.
So we, apparently would need to have that corrected, for a second reading. Or if we correct it, does it make it a first reading again?
It's not a major change.
Okay,
The type-
I don't know if if you no longer have a SIRE, that may be a major change.
Never
You
know
guys have
after
to address me
Tuesday.
as that from now on.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, Jameson.
It better be changed, yeah.
On
anything else?
section 7, where it's inserting the following provision. Number 14, maximum damage potential development. All new or substantially improved maximum damage potential development shall have the lowest floor. It should be developments instead of develop, should be plural, or because change all to any or change all to a. Because the phrase maximum damage potential development should probably be capitalized because you go back to page 1 of under section 1 and it is a defined term, maximum damage potential development.
Yeah, otherwise, they wouldn't have defined it.
Yeah,
Steve had some time on his hands this month, huh?
He was.
I was gonna bring that up.
do it.
You're being polite.
So I guess we can contact DNR and see how they suggest that it be changed. At a minimum, I think we should capitalize maximum damage potential development so that you can see that it is a defined phrase. and maybe change the word all to a, so it says a new or substantially improved maximum damage potential development shall have lowest blah, 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 blah. So the tenses agree. Grammars are important.
Grammars are important. Steve, did you find anything else in this?
Well, other than the fact that I don't like the way they did it. They say, like section 10, amend the following sections by removing all references to use and uses and replace them with development. Well, so now instead of having the language here so that the public understands it, you have to go to another source to see it, and then you have to go through the source and do all the corrections. That's not, we try, and every time we do an amendment, we try to provide the public with the complete text so they don't have to go looking 3 or 4 places and trying to figure it out. However, it's not wrong, it's just poor form.
For sure.
So those are the only things that I saw, but without having the complete text, you don't know. So I would recommend approval of the first reading with the changes to from the word sire to site in base flood elevation.
Already voted. I see that.
And in section 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Nope.
Section 7, right?
Section 7. Capitalizing maximum damage potential development, and changing the word all to a. Capitalizing the beginning so that it looks like the same phrase as in the definition.
Okay. So that was a motion made by Steve. There's a second.
I'll second.
Second by Alex. Steve.
Yes.
Alex. Yes. Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Ken.
Yep.
First reading passes. There you go, Doug.
Especially since I've already voted.
You already voted yes. You can change your answer.
Section 7, sub A, motion to approve 2 members to the openings on the Park and Open Spaces Board members. The Park and Open Spaces Board consists of 3 people. The chair, I'm assuming is what you call them, and then 2 others. I believe Jody already is the chair.
Nope.
We have
She's one of the ones we're replacing.
The Gustafson. What's his first name?
Mike.
Mike Gustafson is the only current member, so he's currently the chair, and he has till June 30th of 2021.
Okay.
Deb?
Yes. I believe so.
So this is his last year, and we would be appointing 2 people, one for a 3-year term and one for a 2-year term. So we have a person whose term would end June 30th of 2022 and June 30th of 2023.
So you got 3 people here. We got Jody, we got Lauren Myers, and we got Cassidy Myers. And as I talked to Steve earlier, we can change the amount of how many committee members there are. There just has to be resolutions and we won't be able to change that
Ordinance.
today at this time.
It's an ordinance.
Or ordinance, sorry.
We have a motion to approve all three pending the change. Is that legal to do?
Nope.
You need to change from 3 to 4? Can't do that.
Can we approve 2 of them? And then have a change in ordinance next meeting?
In order to change an ordinance, you have to publish and go through 3 readings. Unless you publish that you're going to waive
The third.
the
Second.
second and third reading. And it would then take effect after publication, so 20 days after that. The earliest that anything could happen would probably be January.
So what if we motion to approve 2 of them and then have the ordinance changed
Changed.
with all the readings and then approve the third?
So the ordinance
Or
calls,
open it to,
ordinance says there can be 3 right now, right?
Mhm.
Does it specify only 3?
Yes,
Why do we need 4?
I don't know. Did they-
I think
Said they were
anybody
seven,
that
right?
is,
Volunteers?
yeah, that is
You can
open
take
to taking a position,
Yep.
I say then, yeah,
Yeah.
let's consider it. They're showing an interest in their town, so why discourage it? I
Yeah,
motion
but-
to approve Jolene Gast and Kathy Myers for the position, the open position. Open positions.
It is a motion made by Megan,
I'll second.
second by Alex. Discussion.
and I would amend that Joellen be the 2-year term and Cassidy be the 3-year term.
Was that a second then? Oh, maybe
Hey,
everybody
we had a
did.
second.
Sorry.
I think he's re-motioning,
Okay.
I believe.
Just an amendment to the motion?
Okay.
Any amendments?
All right. So then we will go to roll call. Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Ken.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yes,
And then we will do, start that process next meeting.
and since
Do we
Mike
need a
goes,
motion to
Mike
do
goes
that,
off in June, even if we don't change the ordinance, there would still be a,
True that.
I know my wife is interested in it as well.
Okay, so maybe go to a 5-person board or make it so
Make it
that,
7 and just get some more people.
an indefinite number.
Great to have the
Definite
others.
number, you
At
can do that.
least, say at least 3,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would go, yeah,
but
larger.
you'd still have to somehow, you can't just leave it indefinite because then you wouldn't know whether you have a quorum.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's gotta be something.
For sure. Okay. All right, moving on to item 7B, action.
Are you going to, write the, ordinance amendment that would be considered? Or you like Deb to do it? Do we have any direction on how we want it done?
I think we said, what did we say, at least 3? We needed at least 3 people
All right,
in order to have a quorum. And then Deb and I can get together and rewrite that ordinance.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Deb?
Sure.
We'll find time. Sometime. As long as there's no duration in between. now and then.
And I've got the week of Thanksgiving off, so.
Okay. I'll come see you later this week.
well, and you're gonna have to do it by a certain time anyway, if you're gonna get a publication of the paper to hold the first first reading. Unless you just bring the ordinance to the council so that the council can review it and then authorize a publication, in which case it wouldn't get done till February.
Right. So we will do it this, I'll come see you this week. Sometime. Text me. All right. Moving on, item 7B, action on the acceptance of the Sidwell easement purchase. In front of you, you should have the purchase. There it is. The big legal size document. Pretty easy process from what I hear from US. The fact that there was no real negotiations that went on.
Yeah,
Except
no.
the first bid, so.
Yes, it was unusual in my experience of acquiring easements. Usually they will call back and we'll go back and forth, and we usually have questions or, because there's forms they have to fill out and all that. And we did our best to try and get in contact with them and left messages at least weekly, if not a couple times weekly, because the contractor was pushing us, hey, I want to get started on this, And then we got the contractor actually got in touch with him somehow. I don't know how he did, and we weren't able to, but so the contractor got hold of him, relayed to us. Yeah, he said he already signed all the forms. Okay. So a couple days later, they showed up in the mail. So we still never did talk to him, but signed all the forms and sent them back to us. So we have the easement that we need to proceed. It's moving forward. I know, Doug, you were asking about the discussion about purchasing the whole property without the ability to, or without the conversation with him. We didn't have a chance to present that to him. It doesn't mean that it can't be yet.
Well, he has emailed since I.
Okay. Have you had some conversations with him? Okay.
Yes, I'll add that in.
Okay.
Jameson and I spoke with him, and it doesn't surprise me a bit. He seems like a very great guy.
Yeah, he's been real nice the times that I've been able to talk to him. Yeah.
To sign it off right away, and that was what I thanked him for doing that in the email I sent him. I did ask him then the big question. He said he hadn't pursued selling it, but he certainly would consider it. He said we'd have to look at the appraised values that we had. He said that would be kind of a baseline to start looking at a value for the whole thing, but he was certainly open to doing that. So I appreciate that. I am a little concerned. This was signed the 25th of September, and we had our meeting 10 days after that. Somebody inside of Snyder lost it, or what happened?
Well, no, I don't know, because I kept bugging our real estate gal, hey, get a hold of this guy, She said, I'm trying. So I don't know whether did we sign it, or is that what his signature?
His signature.
So I don't know whether
September 25th.
maybe he wanted to check something out before he sent it back. I don't know. But as soon as we had it in our hands, we forwarded it on. So, but at any rate, as far as the wastewater treatment plant project is concerned, we have what we need. They're moving on it, so we just need to get the acceptance of the offer and the acquisition, so that we can proceed with the recording of the document and then disbursement of the funds, Deb, on your end to pay Mr. Sidwell for it. So
what was the price?
7,200.
7,900.
7,900. Okay.
Yeah. I don't see it in the paperwork anywhere, but it's written on top.
I saw $1 and I said, let's go for it.
Okay, so
Here's your,
if only.
That's the offer. 7,900 was our offer.
Yeah, that's what our offer.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the Sidwell easement purchase?
So moved.
Moved by Doug.
Second
by Ken. Megan. Oh, sorry, discussion.
Are you sure that this easement plat was drawn correctly?
Should be. I have not looked at it, but
2 lines.
2 lines. Well, yeah.
Would there be
I trust
discussion?
Yeah, I trust my surveyors. I have to, because I don't.
Would there be any benefit if we did negotiate and come up with the price of the whole thing to process it all at once, or not?
No.
No.
Not really. I mean, so really, if you were to proceed with an overall purchase, it would be up to you, but consideration of the easement already paid for could be
I
factored
didn't know
into it.
that would.
Yeah, I think.
It would be an encumbrance on the land, and so would.
Yeah, it would be there in place. And actually, I believe he's being gracious in allowing our construction to proceed before he's actually been paid for the land already. So I think we want to get this processed and get it done and get him paid
For sure.
as soon as we can. So
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Alex.
Yes.
Paychecks in the mail. All right, item 7C, discussion and action on the Collins-Maxwell High School addition site plan. In front of you, you've got the memo from Snyder, and I believe we have Bishop Engineering on the line with us as well.
Jameson, this is Tom Wallen from FRK as well.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
Can you hear us okay?
Sure can.
Great. We got a new system, that's why I'm asking.
well, I had asked earlier if, everybody had gotten a copy of your analysis and, what your analysis was based on, which is, city development specifications. So are there, any concerns or comments, from the, developing engineers?
This is James Romer with Bishop Engineering. From the comments, there are two that I think are worth the discussion. One of them is it is on sheet C201, the layout plan, comment number 9, regarding the sidewalks along Maxwell and 3rd Street that extend over the right-of-way line, and Wes was recommending that the city consider obtaining the sidewalk easement. That can easily be done. There's no issue with that. Just wanted direction one way or another on that. And then the other comment was regarding the grease interceptor. We're adding a grease interceptor, well, 2 grease interceptors along the east side of the site. One of those, due to site constraints, is actually located in the Metcalf Street right-of-way, which is not typical, but in this scenario, there really is no choice. The building is only about 5 feet off of the property line. So we're requesting approval to allow that. Other than that, we have no issues with any of the comments.
Tom, how does everything look on FRK's side with this? Did you get the memo as well?
Yes, we sure did, and we're right in line with James's remarks. The other items are pretty straightforward from Snyder, so we would certainly support the sidewalk issue and the grease interceptor. Just so everybody understands what the grease interceptor is, it takes the grease out of the new family consumer science area of the proposed renovation to the building, as well as the kitchen of the proposed renovation. The kitchen grease interceptor is the one in question. The kitchen is going to be relocated back to actually its original location back in 1931, and that is where the existing family consumer science classroom is right now. That will become the kitchen again, and we need to have a kind of a robust grease interceptor that collects the fats, oils, greases out of the kitchen before it's introduced into the sanitary sewage system for the city. And that tank needs to sit outside, and it would be what is in the city property. So it'll have 2 access holes for servicing the grease interceptor, and pretty standard installation. But as James indicated, the site constraints
So
If this, go ahead.
what we would be granting, city council would be granting authorization for access into the city right of way for private use, essentially.
Yeah,
Another public use. but-
yeah, a sort of a utility accommodation, if you would.
Okay.
There may be, I don't know, because I've not done one like this before myself either, so I'm not sure if it just is atypical, and I think James alluded to that as well, that it's not typical. But I think it does make sense that there's not a lot of other places that it can go. You want it relatively close to the kitchen, and that's where the sewer connection is. So I don't know if there should be some consideration whether there's a written agreement on that to cover if it need to be replaced, who covers the pavement, who covers the repairs, or I believe is it located in a it appears to be located in a parking area, an off-street parking area or on-street parking area. Is that correct?
It's not actually in the parking, it's in the open space. So it's outside. There is on-street parking there, but it's located in the green space between the sidewalk and that on-street parking.
Okay, all right.
Well, wouldn't that be on private property then?
Well, no, it's still in the right of way.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Outside
it's
sidewalk.
in the street right away. So the question I had based on that is when your service trucks come, is it going to be something where the service truck will be off the street when it parks to service that? Or will it be blocking lane of traffic to be able to service that grease interceptor?
I think it would be able to be in that parallel parking area right there that's right next to the building.
Okay.
Here's the other thing we can discuss too. We have discussed several times about abandoning that section of Metcalf between, what is that, third and fourth, or Spartan Way, whatever you want to call it. And then having that as school property so they can get more parking in, and it's easier for the buses to get in and out because you won't have people parking in weird places. If that were to happen, if we did do that, then this wouldn't be an issue, correct?
Yeah, 'cause I think it falls between Third and Fourth Street.
I don't think we can get that done for the next 3 months though. Because in
Yeah.
order to vacate a street, it has to go through hearing at planning and zoning and then come back to the council. And so it takes, but with publications and everything, it's gonna take 3 months. I think what they would like to have is an answer now. I don't have any problem with, utility accommodation, for another public entity. We're all paying taxes, getting our tax money from the same people, so, making it as easy as possible, to get done, I would certainly be in favor of that. My only concern is how do we then document this so that future councils know what the responsibility of the city is and don't lose track of things. And so having some sort of an agreement as to who's responsible if it needs to be maintained in the future, that it would still be school's responsibility, that we are providing access, unencumbered access into the right of way for that use. Just a written document for both the school and the
Can we still give them
city.
permission to do this and then still do what
Sure,
Jameson was talking
sure.
about? So, okay.
This just gets it done.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the council wishes to
abandon that
vacate
street.
the street in the future, then that can get done when it gets done.
Okay.
Hi, this is Tiana. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm so sorry I missed the time on this one.
That's okay.
No worries.
Should we, as soon as we get done with this issue, we'll drop back and see whether or not we screwed you up completely on the other.
We'll come back to you.
Okay, I can be patient. My fault for missing the time. I'm sorry.
No worries.
No problem.
So on this, James or is it Tom? Are you familiar? I'm not. It's almost a reverse easement for a private easement in a public right of way. Are you familiar with any kind of similar situation that would have a document that the city could use to document that situation?
This is Tom. I do not, but perhaps James, who with the civil engineering firm, might be familiar with a document of that type.
I can't say I've done one offhand, but I don't think it would be something that would be difficult to create. And like you guys said, it's just kind of the opposite easement. So I think that's something that can be pretty easily done and signed by both the city and the school district.
Yeah, and it should, I think, so that we don't have a situation where some business in the future comes back to us and says, well, you've done this before and I want it also. I think that the thing should take notice that it is between two governmental entities, an agreement between two governmental entities. It's not a 28E agreement, but because we don't have equal authority, I believe. But I would like to see that in there someplace, just so future councils don't get put into a corner.
We can do that.
I think it might also be good to note the hardship of it as well. That there's 5 feet of space between the existing building and the right of way, and that you'd have to go 100 feet or more to get to a space either north or south that is further removed from the kitchen area, of why it doesn't make sense.
Of course, that applies to everything downtown too.
Right.
Yeah, true. But at least it establishes that it's not just for convenience. It's a hardship as far as there's no other option.
And I don't think there's anything in the ordinance that would prevent us from doing this. So I think we'd be okay.
You'd have to run the ball on the line to get there.
We tear up the road.
A road that you just said that you might want to close down anyway.
Right.
And so the grease trap item is C201, items 1 and 2. And the sidewalk is item 9. Is that what we're talking about? Page 204.
The comment that references the grease trap agreement is C401, comment 8.
4018. Okay.
Yeah. Back to C201, if we're done with that topic. Number 10, as a bus driver, the driveway is going to remain one way. I talked to Superintendent Lund about that. So signage would indicate that.
That's what I assumed, but it wasn't clear on there, so that's just, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it will remain one way. We'll get some pavement markings and some signage added.
Right, right. Now on 301, there's a lot of talk about percentages of slope and different things. Are there exceptions because it's a hill or not? I know there's a reference to a possible justifying exception or phrases of that nature. What leeway do we have there?
So yes, you're correct. The site is very steep. What we're doing is we're going to have ADA access from the sidewalk along 3rd Street, and we're able to get less than 5% with the less than 2% cross flow on that sidewalk up to the main entrance. And with the site grades, we can't have ADA compliant access from that entrance down to the west to Maxwell Street. But as long as we're providing a ADA accessible connection to the public sidewalk, we shouldn't have any problems.
So we don't have to do everything as long as we have one.
Correct.
Okay,
Could the
good.
city be looking at, some handicap spaces, down along that, Third Street then?
There already is.
That's going to be the ADA accessible.
I believe there's handicap spaces in the new lot interior that also has an accessible route. to
Right by the
front door.
flagpole,
Okay.
there currently is
Yep.
2 or 3 spots there.
Another one that I had a question that is the C201 number 8. Was there any issue with adding a ramp on the southeast quadrant of Maxwell and Third to match the one on the new development there? That was kind of a request more than a requirement. Just noticing that there isn't a ramp there currently, but yet that's kind of a sidewalk route to this new school or to the new development.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. That was kind of outside of our survey limit, so I don't know the elevation of that sidewalk that kind of ends right there. So as far as making those slopes work, I don't have an immediate answer on if we just match in how that will work. But
sure,
as far as that making a connection, that won't be a problem.
Okay.
So you're talking about the south side of
The
Third?
south side of Third, there's
And
not a
on
ramp
the
that comes
east
down to
side
Third.
of Metcalf, or east
Doug's
side,
yard, Doug's corner.
east side of Maxwell.
East side of Mac. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't see that as being I think the city should, really be taking care of that.
And like I said, that was more of a request than a requirement. It's in the city's interest as well as the school's interest, in my opinion, that crosswalk. I mean, we're building it on the north side of Third. Currently, if we build a new one on the north side of Third, there's nothing on the south side to match it.
Yes.
So this would be the time that if you're going to put it on the north side, there should be something on the south side to match it. It makes sense. Now, whether that's part of the school's project or whether the city does it, I mean, that's where I said where it's a request more than a requirement. But
It feels to me that that's outside the project area. That the city should, step up and, make sure that the ramp on the south side or that the sidewalk on the south side is accessible. I don't know what the rest of the council feels.
Council?
I agree.
There you go.
Sounds good.
So, perhaps the same contractor that's, out there working on the school side, would be engaged to do the south side of the street also.
I think that would make sense. I think you like James mentioned, they didn't have survey for that south side to make sure the grades can work. So there should be probably a little bit more.
But what if they can't work? You still got to do it.
Oh, you can make it work. You just might have to replace more sidewalk running to the south or to the east.
But it's going downhill there, and so
That's the high point going south.
Yeah. But it just might take a little bit more sidewalk replacement to make it work. But to James's point, it is outside their site limits, so they didn't have the survey for that, so they may have to get that picked up.
mark 8 as City of Maxwell responsibility.
Any other questions on the site plan while you have it in front of you?
On the next page, page 304, we're looking at central detention basins. And I visited with the superintendent today, and he indicated it's a requirement. There's a formula that DNR goes through. We've got to have a swimming pool there.
Mhm.
Is there any option around that to have? Because I think there's a 5-foot basin.
Yeah. What we're looking at here is making sure that we don't try and put more stormwater into the small system that we have along Maxwell Street than it can handle, and have issues from there. So the additional hard space and parking lot space causes water to run off quicker, which can result in larger, peaks in the stormwater runoff. So the detention system is designed to mitigate that, knock that down, so that we're not overwhelming the system that we have to the south.
And it'll stay dry most of the time, correct?
Yes, I believe that,
Yeah.
James, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is a dry bottom system so that it will only be wet when it's raining.
Yep, that's correct.
Is it mowable? Or is this gonna be so steep that it's just gonna be tall grass and weeds?
It should be mobile. It does have relatively steep side slopes. I think it's in the range of 4-to-1 to 5-to-1 at its steepest. That's kind of just where it's getting tight around the south and west side. So it will be down in the ground. It's going to be down away due to the elevation of the site, and trying to get as much volume as we can. But yes, the goal is for it to be grass that is mobile.
It'll be a great incline experiment for the physics classes.
And a 5-to-1 mowing slope, yeah.
Cody will have fun.
Technically, I've been told that 3-to-1 is a mobile slope. I think that depends on how long the 3-to-1 is, in my opinion. So 4-to-1 to 5-to-1 is better than that and should be maintainable, depending on how adventurous your mowing guy is.
That's why they have outriggers on these mowers.
Yeah, you just hang on to one side more like this.
Just get one of them little electric ones and just do it.
Yeah. A Roomba mower.
Roomba mower.
Any other questions for James or Tom while they're on the phone?
So one thing I would like to clarify is whether or not the council thought the sidewalk easement was necessary along the 3rd Street and Maxwell Street. I don't know if that was ever clarified.
My note was that you had no problem with it.
Correct. It was a recommendation, so I just wanted to clarify that was what you wanted to see, and we can get it done.
I think we just wanted to see an agreement, that the school and the city sign, and that way it's on file for future council members.
That was for the grease trap for the sidewalk, since the sidewalk extends into city property. It would clarify things if there was an easement to the city from the school for the sidewalk.
It's probably less of a concern being as it's a school, another fair government type entity. Any private development, we would most certainly want to have a public sidewalk easement to cover any sidewalk that's outside the right of way. So on this one, we kind of looked at it along the same lines as it's a school, but yet it is not the city. So again, for future reference to have on file and record down the road.
It also clarifies that it's not a fee simple transfer.
Yeah.
It's still school property, even though it's being used as a public sidewalk.
Yes.
So
a 5-foot wide sidewalk easement would cover it for sure, I'm certain, for most of it. And it is the city's benefit to have that sidewalk where it is, because it allows the street widths to remain the same while allowing the parking to meet current standards too. So,
did that answer your question, James?
I don't know. I think everyone's in agreement that it's not a big deal. It's whether or not an agreement or an easement needs to be completed.
Are we talking about 2019?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For future reference, probably would.
I would prefer an easement.
Not a problem. We'll get it taken care of.
Okay.
Doug, was it last meeting you were looking at, did they have parallel parking on Maxwell? Wasn't that a concern for buses?
We can do that separate from this.
Okay.
Well, we changed that, and it just hasn't gotten,
Done yet.
lines haven't
Hasn't
gotten
been
drawn
changed.
yet.
Yeah.
Anything else for James and Tom?
Well, I move, approval of the engineer's memorandum with the exception of, sheet C2, 201, item number 8. And on C401, item number 8, that an agreement be written up permitting the grease trap within the right of way. With maintenance responsibility being the schools.
Moved by Steve. There's a second.
I'll second.
Second by Doug. I forgot where I left off. So Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yeah.
Megan.
Yeah.
Doug.
Yeah.
Ken.
Yes.
Site plan is approved. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for thinking about the project.
Absolutely. All right, now we're gonna go back up to item 5G since Tiana is online. Tiana, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Pull that back out.
I don't have an agenda to look at, but I was on the phone there today with Wes and Deb and bond counsel, and we were just talking through some of the concerns for updating pro forma for the IFA application. And I have gotten some information for FY20, it got updated, but the project is quite a bit more than what it was when we set rates in, I think it was February, around budget time for 2020, when we set rates for 21. So I just wanted to alert you to the fact that I think that we're going to need to look at 4 options, which would be the 20-year loan for the revenue piece, and a portion of it being funded with GEO. I know we had talked about that before, that around 1.4 million of it was going to be GEO. What I don't recall is whether or not you wanted to pay that with your levy, or if you wanted to simply issue it as a GEO and then still pay it from your funds. It gave you some of the expense of having to have coverage on it. But what I foresee are 4 options. So we have, a 20-year version of the GEO loan, the revenue loan, and one option would be that you use your debt levy and actually pay for the GEO note with property taxes. The other option would be that you don't pay for it with property taxes, but that you use your revenue to pay for it. And then those same 2 options repeated with looking at the 30-year loan for the SRF revenue portion. I think at the time that we did this, you had indicated that you really didn't want to do 30 years, but I think that this is going to be significantly more expensive than what we looked at in February. And so I was thinking that you might want to consider the 30-year option on the revenue bond piece in order to sort of moderate your rates a little bit more.
Tiana, do you have a roundabout interest rate for 30-year versus 20-year?
I think the 30-year is at 3%.
3.
Well, so I guess it would be 175 plus the 25 basis points, and then 275 plus the 25 basis points. So the all-in is 3, I think.
Okay. 3 versus 2. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I think when we did this back in March, the cash flow had a borrowing of about 3.2 million. And now we're talking about, I think, closer to 4.2. So that's going to be a significant change. I think that, I will do what I can then to make sure that that doesn't impact what you've already adopted for 21. But you know, 22 at the time was planned to be another significant rate increase for 22 and 23, and adding another $1 million, you know, it's a third of what we already had in here for debt service is going to be significant. The other thing we talked about a little bit was schedule. Jason at Allers had not been aware of the conversations that we had had early on with Kristen, who was also at Allers, about the fact that we wanted to sort of revise the covenants to make sure that you could apply your existing cash balance as part of your ongoing coverage calculation to avoid just having a massive pile up of cash. And so I sent him the discussions that I had in my email about that so that he can make sure that the documents reflect it. And then, you know, you're doing two different loans, the GO loan and the revenue loan are going to require two sets of hearings. And so he's now aware that that needs to be planned for as well. But I guess I wanted to confirm that you still do want to look at the GO option, and that you want to consider either paying it with your levy or paying it with sewer, or do you have direction for me on that already without looking at it? Do you know for sure, for example, that you are fine to pay it with property taxes and not abate that, or do you have an opinion?
When you guys as a council looked at this, so last year or the year before when you went through all this, do you remember what you guys looked at? You guys were looking at the 20-year, right? Not the 30-year. 30 years a new option that Tiana put out. Right.
I believe that the last consensus the council had was 20-year and GO paid by property tax.
Okay.
We did discuss that we could look at the other revenue in order to make it more equitable, because there are people within the city who do not benefit directly by using the sewer, but benefit from having sewer in the city. They don't use it, but property values and the fact that the city exists benefits them, which it wouldn't exist if we didn't have a sewer. And I think that's where the conversations ended up, that we looked at the possibility of rebating people who don't have sewer, paying their taxes, what would be their levy, since they are not using the sewer. But that just seemed too complicated and didn't see any way to get there. Do you have any independent recollections beyond that?
No, that's what I believe where we left this.
That we would go ahead and do it with taxes, and because that was about the only way to do it. Yes, Tiana?
Well, I think that's actually, I consider that positive news, because the last version of the cash flow I had was a $3.2 million expense coming out of sewer. So that if you were not planning to abate any of that with your property, with sewer, and actually levy the tax to pay for the rest, then the sewer side of things would not need to change that much, because the extra, 1.2 million or 1.4 million is actually not going to be paid from this fund at all. It's going to be paid from your levy. So I think what's missing though, I know that at some point I had done an analysis of what the debt service looked like on your levy. But this came up for me because when I reached out to Tracy to get the estimated debt service schedule that ISA does so that I could match it in your pro forma, he sent me a schedule for the entire 4-point-something million. So there's a disconnect between your desire to use some GO and I think anything that had gotten communicated directly to Jason. So we might be closer than I thought. It's just a matter of making sure that the other piece of it that needs to be issued on a GO basis doesn't get lost.
Yeah, and also that all the steps are taken so that we actually do the GO bond. Because we got to get to a point where the council actually votes on it instead of just having this loose consensus that, gee, it sounds like it's an okay idea.
So when I spoke to Jason, and I think he's going to send an email with a general schedule. So I think that what we were, and if you can help me with this, Deb, was that we would have to have a special meeting mid-November with the results of, just so that you can see the analysis and be clear on where we're going in terms of if I have to adjust rates at all, what the levy impact is going to be. And then, so that way in December, you can start taking legislative action to issue the 2 series of bonds.
And what we discussed earlier was that November 16th is available for all council members if it works on your schedule.
I'm trying to find my schedule. Yeah, that looks okay.
Okay, that'll give you 2 weeks to get done whatever needs to get done. And December 14th would also work for the council. And I don't know whether that would work for Ehlers or not. But if it doesn't, and we have to move it back, then the 21st might work, but it's not very well received.
Yeah, okay, so I can figure that out. I have another board meeting on the 14th, but I think that they tend to meet at 4. Although now that everyone's doing it remotely, I'm not sure. I haven't met with this client since they've changed that. But I think it should still be possible for me on the 14th to do both. Let me double check on time. Although on the 14th, I'm not sure how much you need me because you've already made your decisions and you're just going forward with the resolutions that need to be passed. But sometimes it's nice if I'm around just to answer any questions if someone has them. But
and we can on the 14th, since it's a special meeting, we can have it later at night. We're going to have budget things to do earlier in the evening, and so if you want to come in later in the evening on the 14th, we certainly could accommodate that.
Okay, let me figure that out. I mean, so actually I'm encouraged because I think that, I mean, so if I can show you that we don't need to change the sewer rate recommendation from what we had by any significant amount, and I just need to remind you of what your levy is going to look like, I can do that pretty quickly. And I don't know that you would need much more by the 16th of November. I mean, I can certainly call in again to walk you through it, but I don't think it's going to be the surprise that I was concerned that it was going to be. Because I guess I had misremembered and thought that you were going to abate that levy. But since you're not, it's not going to to really change what we discussed in February, I don't think.
Perfect.
Okay, so then I'll send to the city and Wes and Steve once I get this updated. And I would like to get that done by the end of the week, if not early next. I'll send that to you. And more importantly, I'll get, we need to have, is Wes there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, so Wes, we need to split out the loan. And I know you gave Tracy a draw schedule, but we need to somehow indicate to him that there are two loans. That one of them is, the 1.4 million, the other part is the 3.2 million, and that the draw schedule needs to be broken out somehow between those two so that he can give me a new schedule for the sewer portion.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna need schedules for both, but
And he's mostly gonna be primarily concerned with the SRF one. Correct?
right, well, but they're both SRF. It's just that one of them is paid with your levy and one of them is paid with sewer. So he's gonna have to generate both schedules.
Okay.
And I just went through this with another city that's doing part of their loan with Geo as well. I was not in on what the engineers did though and how they split out the draws. But I think that that's pretty much what we need, because once we have that, I can fold it into the pro forma and get you guys something. And once you guys are okay with that, we can use that to submit the application.
Gianna, can you send myself and Chris Peterson an email reminder on what you need then from us and Tracy on that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, that'd be good.
So Tiana, for the total numbers, if we're doing 1.4 million as GO bonds and the whole thing is 4.2, is that the total?
I'm making up round numbers. I'll have to double check what Wes sent me.
So if that's the case, then the loan would be 2.8. So it's a 1-to-2 ratio roughly.
So I think that the amount that's without the forgivable portion from, I'm sorry, not forgivable, but without the CDBG is 4.197. And we had assumed, I think, about 1.4 of that coming from your levy.
Okay.
Anything else you need from us, Tiana?
I don't think so.
Does anybody have anything else for Tiana on our side? Thanks, Tiana, for your time. We appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. And I will get back to you guys, hopefully in the next few days on what that looks like.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Moving back down to item 7D, Resolution 2020-26, a resolution improving the annual financial report for fiscal year 1920. In front of you, you have that resolution.
Move approval.
That was moved by Steve.
Second.
Second by Megan. Discussion.
On the indebtedness at June 30th, 2020, revenue debt of 177,000. What is that revenue debt?
That's a slip lining.
Okay. Thank you. The dollar amounts for the beginning fund balance on July 1 of 2019 is exactly the same number as the ending fund balance for June 30th of 2019.
I'm sorry, what?
Your beginning fund balance is exactly the same number as the ending fund balance from the previous fiscal year. I know there were problems with that in the past, but that's all been,
Yeah, I took everything from the computer straight across.
okay. But didn't the computer have a problem in the past with that?
We fixed, with the auditor's help, we fixed,
Okay, because that was in an audit exception a couple years ago, and that's all been fixed, right?
Yep.
Great. I'm ready to vote.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Alex?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Moving on, item 7E, discussion and action on variance letter for 600 Broad Street. In front of you, you have a letter from Brett and Amanda Barron. They're requesting a 5-foot setback from the property line variance to add a 30 by 50 attached garage on the east side of their house.
This is not an issue for the council.
yes, it is, because we own land next to them. So you have to decide whether you,
The land that we own next to them is the street,
the Legion Hall,
Legion Park.
Legion Park.
oh, the Legion Park.
So this would be something you guys need
Right
to
on the
decide
corner.
whether you wanted
Mr. Minor told
to okay or complain about, or you would be like a neighbor.
Apparently.
And like good neighbors,
State Farm is there.
we say.
They're going to build in the front yard closer to Broad. But they're going to,
What they're doing.
and they're going to get within 5 feet of Broad Street.
No, I don't think so. I think you look at their house, it sits in an angle. I
Mhm.
think they're all talking about it's gonna be more, not towards the street. I think it's gonna be more towards the park.
Park property.
To the east.
Do you have a drawing of this?
Yeah, that's what I was just asking. Did they not submit a drawing?
Can you print off a Google map?
We got the map right up there.
Well, they should have sent out a diagram with it to the adjacent property owner.
I don't think she did.
So it's this, I don't know if you guys have your magnifying glasses with you. It's this property right here. I think they want to put it back here.
On the east end of the house,
See, because right now. the house,
and it
there's
would
nothing in it.
require
It's
a
like
front yard
What is that, a walkout?
variance,
So there's a regular door down there.
so that it would be 5 foot setback from the property line. So 5 foot setback from Broad or 5 foot setback from the park. Well, it must be from Broad because it goes on to say the city of Maxwell zoning requires a front yard to be 25 feet from the property line.
But they, inside quote is what they.
Because at one time, that was
I need
the
this
property
back.
line.
It's the only copy she has.
Okay.
But this is,
Oh.
this is Broad up here, and then
So it's
Metcalf
gonna
comes
go
this way.
directly.
Yeah.
This is the driveway into the park.
And
So it's gonna
the
be back here.
new construction's gonna be where?
The red.
It's gonna start back in that corner.
This is the property
That
line.
way.
Mhm.
This is the corner of their house.
Mhm.
And so the existing house
So which way are they
has
going? East?
established
Going east.
a front yard setback. The ordinance says that the front yard,
But they
when
wouldn't be
when a
talking
house
front
is
yard.
closer than permitted, that becomes the front yard setback. So they could come all the way from that corner, wouldn't need any variance at all. I don't think they need a variance myself, but
The building inspectors,
I would like to talk to these fabled building inspectors, because I don't,
they're the
Huxley
ones,
still?
they were the
Guy
ones
over in
that
Huxley.
rejected it because of the front, the setback.
Well,
I'm just going.
I
by what they said.
understand. What I'm saying is the house is already, within about 3 foot of the property line. And the ordinance says that as long as you don't come any closer, then you can build in line with that, because that's already established as
Existing.
the front
Right.
yard setback.
Yeah.
So I don't see where it needs a variance, and I think the building inspectors are cuckoo.
So therefore, as a council member, you have no problem with what they're asking.
Well,
That's all they're asking right now.
Right, they're asking if
As a,
we have a
as a
problem.
neighbor, you say. it's
as
okay.
a neighbor, and it would be as a neighbor, sure, I would have no problem with it.
There you go.
And I don't think it even needs a Board of Adjustment hearing anyway. So, I move that, the council, reply favorably to the request for variance.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
God, I hate this.
second by Ken, Alex.
Yeah.
Megan.
Yep.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Steve.
I would also, ask the building inspectors to, justify their decision to make sure that a variance is required. And I'd be more than happy to, have them justify it to the mayor or myself, whichever the mayor would like.
Can you have them send Steve and myself an email?
Yeah.
Thank you. What'd you say, Steve? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Moving on, item 7F, discussion action on SCEDG project funding. In front of you, you have that application. This is for
What we tried to do is get some,
Get some money.
grant money to help pay for the, ramp. And it was approved. So we'll be getting $1,800 toward the $3,600 or so, ramp. And I don't think there's any other action that's needed other than, a,
Cash the check and take it.
so that was a motion by Steve. You make a
what
motion?
is that building?
No,
What,
can Steve make a
So
motion?
that's the,
Yeah, he was
VFW.
just talking.
Yeah, that used to be, the Gable Inn, used to be a bar, it's now apartment.
Okay.
Wasn't it Gable Inn?
Yes.
Okay.
Applicant.
And I feel like I should belong to the museum society here. I know at least one old building in town.
Where that old sign thing in.
So do we have a motion to approve going for this SCEDG?
We already did, it's
It's been
already
approved.
granted,
Okay.
so the council just needs to,
Accept the money.
yeah, that's it.
Is there a motion to?
I make a motion that we accept that money. Thank you very much for doing that, and we'll just go on with that.
Perfect. Motion by Ken.
Second.
Second by Alex. Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Steve.
No, yes,
Alex.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on.
Darn kids.
Discussion action on contract with Aspen Waste Services. So this is a fantastic letter that we got saying that Chitty Garbage was bought by Waste Connection earlier this year. Last month it was sold again to Aspen Waste Services. Because they're based out of Ames, we are now too remote for them to service us. If we would like to break that contract and look for someone else, we can. But in the meantime, they will still be picking up garbage. We talked about this last year or earlier this year that we were going to start looking for new people in November. So we had a few that we wanted to check out. Garbage guys out of Huxley.
Huxley.
And I think Ankeny Sanitation was brought up.
Pratt Sanitation out of Nevada.
Pratt Sanitation. Hold on. Start writing this down.
Pratt.
Garbage
guys.
Where's garbage guys out of?
Slater.
Huxley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pratt.
They have their,
I know
they most recently got a shop, I think.
Ankeny Sanitation comes this way.
They've been calling a lot.
Ankeny Sanitation asked.
do we have a requirement to take our waste to Ames?
I don't know.
I know at one time, there was a requirement, and the cities all agreed, to take waste to Ames, and that's how they, had their, paid for, bond, their debt, their bonded debt, was they had a certain amount of contracted waste coming to them. Some of these places may not have tipping rights at Ames. They may only have tipping rights down in Polk County. And so we need to know if our waste flow has to be committed to Ames or if it can go someplace else.
I think Collins.
Collins was outside the area. Okay. They go to Marshalltown, and because of that, they have to do separation and all kinds of things.
Gotcha.
And their tipping rate is higher than ours, was higher than ours.
Okay.
So that also may be because they're a smaller community. I don't know.
This. On the same topic of all this, the good news, why I say this is good news is because this last week I've had 3 separate complaints about Chitty Garbage. So
Were the complaints that they were getting really chitty?
yeah. Which is a shame because the original company was a fantastic company.
Yeah.
Great.
Downhill. So
Their name.
yeah.
Yeah, it did. That's why you don't put your name on it. Business.
Or you don't sell it. They could have said you have to rename it.
Change the names.
Yep.
Yes.
Very common.
So do we have
So
to take an action with
Is
Aspen Waste?
4:00 on Friday, December 4th would be before our next meeting, and so the proposals would be considered at the December meeting.
Yep. Is that too late for you, Tim?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. I just put in a mock date. I didn't know.
Well, if you want it earlier, you can do it the 2nd or 3rd, if that gives people enough time. That way you have time to get the board packet around.
Well, this says that they'll be opened at the council meeting on December 7th. So, and because we have another meeting in December, that would give us a chance to evaluate 1 week to evaluate and then award. So
On the 21st or whatever that is, 14th.
And then go into a new contract.
So before putting this
January
out,
1st.
we need to find out if we have to go to Ames.
Well, don't we want to go to Ames?
It's fine with me. I don't care where you take the garbage.
Otherwise, we have to have 2 cans.
If we are required to go to Ames, then whoever's bidding needs
To know that.
to know that
Right.
as part of this. And if we are not required, then what is written here is just generic
Okay.
enough that it
Right.
works.
Correct.
So a call tomorrow to the Ames Resource Recovery may answer the question. Whether or not the waste flow still has to go to them. And if it, and if it does, then this would have to be changed a little bit to, with a sentence that says, we have so many households to be served, and the waste flow must be taken to the Ames Resource Recovery. Additionally, the hauler must provide blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it could just be a sentence put in there.
Can you check on that tomorrow, Deb?
Sure.
Thanks.
What else do I have to do?
Just come to work.
Yeah. Is there a motion to throw out a proposal?
Subject to finding out where the waste flow
Correct.
needs to go. I move that we proceed with the proposal as included in the packet, subject to modification as required.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Ken. Megan,
Do we
Discussion.
want to evaluate all these proposals ourselves? Do we want to set up a subcommittee to do it? Do we want to ask our engineer to look at the proposals and make a recommendation? How do we want to do that? We have 1 week from when we open them to when we make a choice.
when we open them, can we have a discussion during that time?
Sure,
All of us?
sure.
I think that would probably be best, then you get input from it.
Yeah, I don't know when you open them, whether you're going to be able to understand and understand the detail, but yeah, usually it takes a little bit of close reading to make sure that,
They're the exact same from what we were getting before.
or that if you're getting apples, oranges, and bananas, that you pick the fruit you like.
Yeah.
Grapefruit.
How complex is something like this?
It shouldn't be too complex, but I mean, when we set it up for like a public letting, it's a lot easier because we have bid items and we spell it out real black and white. This one's small enough. There could be some, and it's not an official bid. I mean, you've seen before where they say, well, I can do this and this, and they'll modify things. So making sure it's apples to apples. Hopefully they come in across the board, but
we can certainly discuss it at the meeting, and then if we need to set up a committee to review it in greater detail with a recommendation back to the council the following week, we can try to do that.
I think that's a good idea. All right, back to roll call. Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Alex.
Yes.
So you guys want me to send it to Garbage Guys, Ankeny Sanitation, Pratt. Is there anybody else?
Those are the three locals.
I think so. I don't know of any other garbage places.
Is there a second one in Nevada?
There used to be a second one in Nevada.
That's Pratt.
What starts with A, I think.
Aaron's?
Aaron's. Is that still one?
I'm not in Nevada a whole lot. I want to say I've seen
I don't know.
one of their dump trucks. Maybe it's worth looking into.
On my cruise trip.
No, I did not.
Put my job. We're good to go.
Is this of a size that it can't be done just by invitation?
I mean, you're talking a garbage contract, so it's a service contract. I don't know that it wouldn't fall into the DOT's vertical infrastructure and horizontal infrastructure that I'm aware of.
Okay, and there's nothing in the state law that,
Not that I'm aware of. I don't get into service contracts all that much, so I don't know.
Corbin.
I've never heard of that either.
I've heard of Corbin, yeah.
All right. Item 7H, Resolution 2020-27, resolution to appoint a member and alternate member to the Polk County 911 Service Board. In front of you, you have the letter from Polk County Emergency Management asking that we provide a member to serve as a strong link between Polk County EMA and the local jurisdiction, and is encouraged to attend quarterly meetings, communications with the service board members.
well, it would make sense to me that whoever is responsible for fire and EMS, which would be Ken and Alex, would be the people who attend, because we're talking about 911 services, and that would most closely relate to fire and EMS.
I'll be more than happy to be that one.
I appreciate that.
Me too.
So Ken as the primary and Alex or Michael over here as the alternate.
First year on council, I was Mike.
Okay. Like, I don't get it.
Let Mikey do it.
Mike Gustafson left, and I, like the idiot that I am,
I must have sounded like him.
well, you sat where he sat.
You sat where he's at, and that was
It was Mike's chair. I'm sorry.
it.
Who else wants to volunteer? Be a third one.
Second.
Oh, I think the mayor is always the appropriate for the last fallback.
There you go. Both right in there, Mayor Pro Tem.
Jameson.
Wait a minute here. Extra words in here.
I'm fine with that too.
Darn Latin.
Move the resolution with Ken Jantz being the primary, Alex being the alternate, and Jameson being the second alternate member.
Moved by Ken, or
Mike.
Yeah, by Steve.
Second.
Second by Alex. Doug.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Jody used to really enjoy going to the 911 board meetings every quarter. They can be a very interesting group of people.
All right. Item 7I, discussion and action on use of city parks during Old Settlers. You have the original letter that was published in a meeting a month or so back. Then you have a new one in front of you. I've been asked to read this in full for everyone. So, yeah. Hopefully you don't
Okay, go for it.
mumble up. So this is from Maxwell's Market in the Park. It says, "Dear City Council members, it was brought to my attention that in October a letter was written to the City Council members in regards to the events that took place on August 9th, 2020 during Maxwell's Market in the Park and Old Settlers festivities. This came as quite a bit of surprise to Cassidy and I that the matter of this discussion would be made public. And due to the nature of the events that day and how unprofessional the matters were handled, I refuse to give any further attention to the matter or the individuals involved. My experience tells me that this only leads to unnecessary drama, and why blanket the great city of Maxwell with drama when instead Cassidy and I could go into great detail on what the market is actually doing to make a difference now and in the future. 2020 has been one of the most crippling years to anyone's recollection. Little did we know that in May, when we set out to provide homegrown produce, handmade items, and homemade baked goods, that the market would also provide a platform of hope. Unknowingly, I truly believe that's what we've done. Over 65 fabulous vendors participated in the weekly market. These vendors are local, loved, and truly one of a kind. Without them, this doesn't work. Without them, the state of Iowa doesn't work, and how blessed we are to have them be a part of something new. They trusted in us and took the chance to show up each week with their one-of-a-kind work. From hand-poured soy candles to produce, baked goods to home decor, and so much more, the market provides an experience everyone can love. Even a weekly scavenger hunt and fun zone for the kids, where tiny market tots can have their face painted. A true market staple now. Individuals and families from across the state of Iowa scheduled their entire Sunday to attend this market. In June, the market held a silent auction fundraiser for a family in dire need. A loving father of two had just received a cancer diagnosis that would forever change his family's life. A family that does so much for the Collins-Maxwell farming community and surrounding 4-H clubs. With the silent auction and generous donations, over $18,000 was raised to help this deserving family. Every Sunday that followed, Cassidy and I made it our mission to provide space for various nonprofit groups to raise funds and awareness, like Hope Animal Rescue League of Iowa, whose mission is to rescue, protect, and provide hope as they search for loving homes for stray and neglected animals. Hope Animal Rescue attends the market every other Sunday and provides puppy smooches for $5. And who doesn't love a good puppy smooch from time to time? COVID-19 has hindered the Collins-Maxwell School District in its ability to raise the much-needed funds to provide supplies, uniforms, and so much more for the students. We were first contacted by the Collins-Maxwell 2020 Prom Committee. At the time, fundraising was scarce due to COVID-19, and the Prom Committee was brainstorming ideas for fundraising. With their hard work, they were able to raise over $700 at the market bake sale. From then on out, we hosted various fundraisers for the CM football team, basketball team, Spartan Sounds band, and provide the same for the wrestling team in our November local craft fair. The market held its first 5K fun run and walk and was able to donate over $1,000 to the Collins-Maxwell Athletic Boosters, of which Maxwell's Market in the Park LLC is a proud Olympian sponsor. The students and the entire school district are very important to the market, and we will continue to show our utmost respect and generosity to them. So what's next? Cassidy and I will be full steam ahead planning for 2021 market, of course, and have so much more in store. Community give back programs. The market wants to give back to the city of Maxwell for providing us the opportunity to create an atmosphere Maxwell craved as much as we did. Because we are blessed to call the city park our home once a week for a few hours, the market could provide our home with updated trash cans, a fresh upgrade to the bandstand, or a new coat of paint to the church stand. Whatever it is we can do, we will make it our mission to help. Maxwell's Market in the Park Student Scholarship. The market will always support our students now and in their future. One way we'd like to continue that support is with a market scholarship, where senior students have the opportunity to apply for a college scholarship. The students would apply in an essay format, providing their best interpretation on what small business means. The winner of this scholarship would receive a scholarship to help with the first year textbook expenses, dormitory supplies, etc. 2021 market scholarship opportunities, where your sponsorship contribution can help book some of the best bands Iowa has to offer, radio advertising, supplies, and fun activities for the Kids Zone and scavenger hunt, and other advertising opportunities for you and your family or business. Back to the task at hand and why I am responding to the letter sent to the City Council last month. I believe that it was at the request of Steve that I ponder a decision moving forward with Old Settlers annually. At this time, the market will move forward with its weekly event during Old Settlers weekend, but will move to a new location that week. Cassidy and I have discussed numerous locations: Main Street in Maxwell, Collins Maxwell High School, football field, but the one that comes to mind and comes to the front of our minds is Collins. Collins has also blessed us with great vendors and patrons, and we would like to repay the community with a market weekend of sorts, a full day of activities, market vendors, music, food trucks, and more. I am disappointed that I even have to address or reply to the current events. This should have never been made public and could have been resolved with both committees meeting as one in private. Instead, both events now have casted shade over them, which is entirely unfair to both. The market was disrespected, market vendors were misled, and quite frankly, the Old Settlers vendors contracted and in their location prior to market time should be embarrassed on how they displayed themselves prior to the blow-up that I believe we are speaking of. Therefore, the market will move forward on its own during the Old Settlers event scheduled for 2021. It has been our pleasure to serve the Maxwell community with a positive, new, and magical event that the community and surrounding area loves as much as we do. We can't wait to continue this new tradition with everyone. Believe in the market, believe in Maxwell, believe in magic. Sincerely, Lauren Myers. That being said, the discussion and action on use of City Park during Old Settlers, we can still discuss that, but at this time, the market will not pursue using the park during Old Settlers.
I move that the area between Broad and Second and between Army Post Road and Trotter be set aside on Old Settlers weekend for Old Settlers activities.
Good. There's a motion made by Steve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Megan. Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Alex? Yes. Motion passes. Item 7J, discussion and action on complaints and nuisances. Do we have any?
Not any new ones.
Huh? Not any new ones?
Do we have to take any actions on any old ones?
No, they're still in.
Has any action on any old ones been taken on the other person's part?
What is the status of the house on
Main Street?
Maxwell Street?
Main Street?
Main Street?
The one that's all just a skeleton?
Yeah.
Yes.
Main Street.
I received a thing from the court stating that basically the city is stopping him from doing anything with his property because we won't sign his demolition permit. And then, so they want to.
Last month is the lawyer said to go ahead and let him demo it or go ahead and do that, give him permission to do that, so it would not hinder him look like we're hindering him
We
or.
never actually received a demolition permit.
So he never applied.
So he never
Right.
applied.
He gave a partial to his lawyer, which was then used as evidence. Then they're asking for dismissal of all charges and for us to pay his fees.
And our attorney is, still working on it, right?
Yeah, I just got that yesterday, so I haven't had a chance. Michael was in, court yesterday, so I wasn't able to talk to him.
Yeah. So our attorney will probably be taking the position that, we didn't stop him from getting a demolition permit. He never applied for a demolition permit. And so that would be the counter argument, and then it still continues in court. Okay.
So we're about a year out.
This is what court is all about.
Anything else for that? All right.
What about the, one on, Maxwell Street, and the, 300 block? We had,
Is that the one across from
The
the
boats?
school?
yeah, across from the
Yeah.
school.
I haven't heard anything
The
on
boat
that
has
after
been
I signed.
moved.
No, not the boat, the
One
house,
south.
One
the
south
house
of it.
south of that.
With the
Shills.
shields coming,
Oh.
there's critters coming in and out.
There
of it.
were,
Yeah.
What was it on?
That one where
they had to
there's,
have junk in the backyard. and-
South of Buddy's house, the other side of his garage.
they have a broken basement window where animals are coming and going, yeah.
'Cause we've sent a letter on that, and
And I
has it
said-
been turned over to the attorney?
I sent everything over to the attorneys. They're going to be, drafting up something.
Okay.
What about the one on Baldwin? What did, I can't remember their names now.
Car up on the cement
Mathis,
bricks.
Mathis.
the rental of
yeah.
Mathis, the structural,
With the back porch falling off?
yeah, the siding and
I
something
haven't
about
heard
siding
anything
and
on that.
windows.
Have we sent letters out or anything on that one?
I sent a letter out.
How about Young's? Up
Doug,
on
we're
Metcalf.
good one. What's going on in the house
Anything
with
get done with
the
that?
I
Along
haven't-
north on,
Across
Fifth,
from
still
Hands.
Baldwin?
on Baldwin.
Yeah.
That car's been on blocks for months.
Right?
Nobody's
Bricks.
I've never seen
I
it.
I don't think anybody lives there.
Nobody's
Lucas Ellis
living
was the last one I saw living there.
Well, the property owner is responsible for whether somebody living there or not.
Last I know, it was property management that owns it.
Is that
It's
city
just a rental.
property management?
Mm-hmm.
No, it was
No.
in his name.
Okay.
Do you know if we've sent anything out about abandoned vehicles on that property
No, we have
Or-
not.
or junk vehicles?
Please do.
To who?
To whoever the owner of the property is.
Patrick Truby.
Where?
Do you
Huh?
have an address?
Baldwin.
Go to reports.
No, the address is that house.
Oh. Well, that's fun.
Well, then that would be something that you should talk to the attorney about to see, how we should proceed if there is no way to, send out notice. It's a learning opportunity, Deb.
Tow truck sounds
I
pretty
don't need
nice,
any
huh?
more learning. My brain's
At least
full.
knock it off those
What's his name?
some
Was
kids
Patrick
gonna get
Truby?
Patrick
up there and fiddle with it.
J. Truby.
Do you leave a forwarding address at the post office?
No,
Because you're probably getting the water bill back every month, aren't you?
He
water shut
resides
off.
at Story
Huh?
County.
Water's been shut off for a long time.
Right. Water,
That's
Is
where
the
you
bill
can find
current?
him.
does he,
The bill current?
Send it to the
No.
Polk County Sheriff's Office.
No.
so at that point, do we just stop sending him a bill or do we keep trying to send a piece
Well,
of paper?
once the water's shut off, He wouldn't get any new bills, but he would still,
Yeah, Bill.
Get
The,
balance.
the
Then
old
there's
bill
been made
went over onto the
information.
property. It's being assessed to the property.
But nobody's paying the property tax, I would assume.
Trust me, you get really
which means
good
the city's gonna end up with it probably.
What kind of car is that?
It's not any car we want.
No.
You're telling me it can't be a police cruiser in that, huh?
No.
It can be, but
They wouldn't
A lot of
cruise
work.
very fast. It's on blocks.
Anything else for discussion and action on complaints and nuisances?
Thank you, Deb.
Council and mayor reports. Let's start the round robin. Steve.
Election day tomorrow. So everybody hopefully has voted. We're going to probably put up a request for no parking in front to allow for curbside voting. It will not be enforceable because we didn't take action on it, but hopefully people will recognize that and not park there.
Anything else? Moving on. Alex.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Megan.
Nope.
Okay. Doug.
Story County Economic Development Group has quarterly meetings, and we zoomed in on it. Steve also plugged in. Nearly every other city, we kind of go round robin at the end and talk about what's going on and what isn't going on. Nearly everyone has a housing addition in process, and I feel we're missing the boat big time. Big time. And it's time. So I don't know if we need to set up a committee or something, but we've got the potential of Sidwell, potential of I don't know where else, but we are missing some golden opportunities with, what is it, Facebook putting in 1,000 new jobs, and Burke in Nevada has 200 or 300, I've heard both numbers, new jobs. We're a bedroom community, and we need to have some bedrooms. So I don't know what it's going to take to do that, but I'd be in favor of being on a committee or do whatever we need to get some housing possibilities explored and followed through on things. And Scott Oaks is on hold currently. Yes, he split it up into two, but that doesn't mean anything's going to happen necessarily. I think Sidwell is probably our best option, but again, it's going to take money to do that. We start talking 3.2 went up to 4.2 on the wastewater. The school is going to have some tax increases, significant amounts there. We don't have a ton of money sitting around.
And if we're gonna do Baldwin Street resurfacing and put in a storm sewer along Fifth Street to drain the swamp north of Fifth, there's another $1 million of
We got to prioritize. So I think getting housing is top in my mind for what needs to
And you
happen.
bring that up, in the last month, we had somebody out there tried to want to build a house, and I think we need to really seriously look at what we're doing here. If there's a lot of empty lots, whether it's 50 foot or whatever it is, if we can build a small house to get a family here or whatever, I don't see there's any problem with it. So I would suggest or try and ask the committees or whatever to look into that and think about that again. So.
But that's the big thing on my mind. Secondary, and we talked about this for a couple months, we've got a lot of junk around town. Go down any alley and you'll find broken windows and trash and TV sets and just all kinds of stuff. We've got to be appealing in that regard. I know the school is stabilized, the community is stabilized. Yes, we're going to have some tax increases. And the more houses we have to spread that tax, the better it's going to be for everybody. So that's my soapbox version.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
What are we going to do about it? So,
I'll go out. I'll start digging tomorrow.
I think Ken has a good point. Somebody did come in last month and wanted to take an existing 100-foot lot, divide it into 2 lots, and build 2 houses on 2 50-foot wide lots. that decision, was no, because the ordinance does not allow it. And the ordinance does not allow it because the council, 23 years ago said it was not a good idea. Maybe it is a good idea today, but if it is, it's going to take planning and zoning and the city council to sit down and review the ordinance, ordinance requirements. It's not impossible. It just needs to be done, and it can't just come in and the council had no authority to say, yes, you can do it.
Right.
Well, we can change the ordinance and that would then, it would still mean the council has no authority to say, yes, you can do it. And the ordinance would say, yes, you can do it.
Is that something we want to discuss at next,
I think so.
Can we get a first reading in by then?
No.
Or we have to approve December?
First of all, any change has to go through planning and zoning commission, and they have to make a recommendation to us, and it has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So we have to look at the comp plan. We have to hold the public hearings. Is this going to be done in a month? No. Government is not made to work fast. Government is made to work slowly because, first of all, nobody pays attention until it affects them, and then they want to know why the hell we change things. So we work slowly, we take the time, we do it right. It probably could get done by summertime.
I definitely think that's something we need to
I
look
think we
into.
can just put a bug in the board
P&Z's.
Well,
here.
They,
How long do they meet, Tom?
I would say
Whenever they need to.
having a joint meeting with them
Mhm.
and seeing if there is a consensus between the five of them and the five of us. And if there is, then we can start holding the public hearings, so that lets people know, and hopefully the word gets out, because I'm sure there's going to be some people who are going to have concerns about decreasing the sizes of the lots in the town.
I think that's a meeting that we should definitely invite them into.
Mhm.
Especially if it's just a preliminary meeting. Give him
So
some.
is this a time of year that we want to rush right in, or we want to try to do it in January, when we get past the season? Of course, we'll be in budget at that time.
I think now.
I think now, if we want it to be so that during maybe the next building season, we can have it
Happen next summer,
approved.
here, fall, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all we have to do is identify a time in the calendar when we can all meet.
I would think it's probably gonna have to be like a Saturday or a Sunday to get everybody.
We're all meeting on the 16th. Can't they come in?
They have a meeting scheduled the 17th.
Yeah, and I know at least one P&Z person that can't come the 16th.
Make them.
Well, they have a meeting scheduled for the 17th for this one case that may not be necessary. And so that might be a good time.
I agree.
We just meet with them
We meet on their date.
on the
We'll
17th,
meet
because
on
they're
their
already
date.
planning on
They're
having a
meeting on
meeting
the
at that time.
17th. I'm willing to go on the 17th.
I can go.
All we need is 3 of us.
Well, since it's a work session.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Are you gonna meet all on
Just an
here?
update.
What'd you say, Deb?
Are you all going to meet here?
Oh, let's do it down to Legion Hall. It's got room.
There you go. Legion.
That's always a conducive place for a work session, because you sit around a table
Correct. you
And
know,
look
say
each other in the
yeah,
eye.
swear or whatever.
Are you gonna need both D and me or just D?
Probably just D, wouldn't you think? How do you want to do it, Deb?
I don't know. I think maybe Deb needs to be there.
I'm gonna be in budget all day. I'm gonna be mush.
Okay.
Sounds like D is a good choice then.
Yeah, just an update on, I met with, EMS again, after we had the last city council meeting. And, got to talking, talked with, again, I talked with, the deputy up there. Throwing around the idea now of talking with Story County. I haven't talked with them. I got to get some information, but the way Marshall County Hospital does it is, and Shelby was telling me because he works part of that, is Marshall County Hospital will put out an ambulance in different parts of the county.
Mhm.
So they will cover Marshall County or Conrad, Iowa, which is Grundy County, and then they'll cover down, I think it's at LeGrand or wherever. So, and then around with paramedics. So I was wanting to maybe go see what Story County would think about doing, if they would be interested in doing that. Story City's the one who's been in the newspapers lately about it. Maybe I need to talk to city leaders in those towns too, McCallsburg and where else, you know, in some of those areas. So even if there was one in Story City, maybe that could cover the McCallsburg area, that area or whatever. If we park one here, we could cover, you know, this way to the east, Cole, you know, that way or whatever, you know, that way. So I'm kind of thinking about going that route, seeing if we can do satellite ambulances in the area and stuff.
Is that taking the public safety officer off the table?
Probably for right now, just because of cost. Just because of cost, unless we want to look at possibly trying to do our own police officer type deal between the two cities or 3 cities, you know, or something like that. Right now, my biggest concern right now is EMS.
It's been all over the news lately too.
Yeah.
And giving the sheriff a chance to respond
Right.
to the letter and the
And I think we
concerns
need
that were
to keep on the
expressed.
sheriff's department. We need to, you know, keep on them and say, hey, you know, I know they went flying through town the other day, you know, sirens, but I didn't know if 50 mile an hour down Main Street was a great idea of sirens on. I noticed a car come out of this corner here and brake lights on the officer's car, put his nose down. So, you know,
They do
it's
it
kind of a
quite
blind
often.
corner. What's that?
They do it quite often.
Yeah, they do. I hear them, yeah. So we'll keep an eye, you know, keep on them about policing and that kind of stuff. But I think I'm gonna talk to a couple of the paramedics up in Story County along, also with, I think it's Dr. O'Laughlin. He's the doctor that's in charge of the EMS stuff down here too. So see what he thinks about it too. But I know it's gonna be like maybe an increase. I said, we've got 2 ambulances here. You know, I don't know what if you have to go out and buy brand new ambulances for everybody, but it is gonna take some more equipment and stuff and personnel. But we'll see. But anyway, that's kind of what I was working on. That's about it. Otherwise, I don't have any It's really nice and quiet down my road now. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Really nice and quiet. So,
Yeah, you live on a dead end now.
pretty much.
Can we circle back? Sidwell said he was willing to consider selling it. Do we need to pursue asking him officially for what a price? So we can,
I think what was stated is that he was willing to consider selling it at an agreed upon appraised price. So.
he said the starting place would be to look at what the appraised value was, yes.
Okay, do we have an appraisal for the entire property?
Yes. But they appraised the whole property when they did that.
That's what the 7,200 is based on, it's
How much
per
How
acre.
much did we buy? An acre? A little over an acre?
No, we just got an easement, we didn't buy anything.
Yeah, but I think
What was
because it's an encumbrance, you have that paper. Well, it doesn't matter, but yeah, I think we paid 100% assessment value, or not assessment, appraised value, because it's an encumbrance that's being used. Usually with like a sewer easement, we'll pay 50% of the appraised value because it's underground, they can still have use over top. Temporary easement, we'll pay like 10%.
So since
But I
he's
think
not
it-
gonna be able to.
But I think it's a permanent, yeah, I think we paid
On the
100% of the appraisal, if I remember right. But yeah, it's based on the appraisal of the whole property divided by the 20 acres that it is. We're getting whatever percentage of an acre. And that's what the 7,200 is based on.
So, that,
7,900.
0.22 acre.
How much, Deb?
It was 0.22 of an acre.
Fifth of an acre.
Right now, looks like the estimated for the whole thing was $206,200.
so what we start out with is, do we have $210,000 sitting around under a blanket someplace?
I don't.
Now that you ask.
I'll go over and buy a lottery ticket every Monday. Just quiet.
And probably, if you look at the, treasurer's report, which shows cash balances in funds, the, local option, sales tax, I think, had $300,000 in it. So is there $210,000 unencumbered in that fund? There might be. And then we would be land rich and cash poor. So how do we then move forward from that position?
I think your best route is if you bought that land, it would be up to the city to approach developers to come in and either buy that land from you or develop it, and then they pay us back.
One of the things that was discussed at the Economic Development Commission
So then we'd be stuck with
was
land that somebody has that
getting
isn't gonna
low
We would
and
have to go to
moderate,
a developer though. Scott Oaks is not a developer.
low and moderate income housing. And one of the communities did that by not having any cost on the land. So when the developer built a house and sold it, there was only the cost of the house, and there was no cost of the land, which kept the price of the total transaction about $20,000 less, and kept it in low and moderate income housing range, which means that they sold out quickly and the development was pretty successful. And I can't remember which town that was,
I don't either.
but they discussed that as one of their strategies.
I think Baxter did something similar to that, where it was, maybe it was you get the land, but you have to build a house on it, a tax.
Maxwell did that on the Webb Court and
Yeah,
Myers
Myers Road.
and those houses went pretty fast. So yes, the city can do something like that, but you know, takes a little bit of planning, and it would take installation of sewer and water to the lots, and probably grading and surfacing of the road with using the same seal coat that we do every place else. So
Easier to get water and sewer
yeah,
Yeah.
water and sewer would not be a problem.
Nope.
What we'd want to do though is extend both of them in adequate sizes so that the area to the northeast of that development could develop. So, because that would be our next expansion area.
Correct.
East of
Across the street.
where
East of,
who owns that now? It's not
Israel.
Owen.
It's
Israel. East of where Israel is.
Which is Owen's son that owns it.
That's Joe Owen.
Joe.
He's not looking to develop it all.
No, but that would be the next development area, and if we had water and sewer so that it could be extended under the road,
Be planning ahead
what
with that.
about east of Myers Road?
Jacobson.
yeah, because we don't have either
I think he owns it.
sewer or water over there, it would be a little bit more of a stretch
Right.
to get there than it would the land east of Israel.
Well, there is rural water there.
And that's going to be
A problem.
the problem on the land east of Israel because it becomes their franchise area. And if we were to extend water into that area, then we would have to buy their rights. And they would have to be willing to sell them, or we'd have to be willing to bid it up so they'd be willing to sell them. And so you're buying the right to extend water into their franchise area. And I have no idea whether they'd be willing to do that or not. So maybe if we do sewer and they do water, I don't know.
And Dr. Sidwell did have two reservations. One, he has Trevor already planning on farming it next year because we're beyond that date where you can say that. And to avoid capital gains, he would want to buy something else. You need to find something else to buy. So those are the two reservations that he had about doing anything. But
So
You can buy some building lots from us if you want to put a house.
Yeah, really.
he likes the farm putter.
We certainly could make it a 2-year endeavor. That we would purchase the property in a couple years. That would give him a couple years to find something else. When he finds something else, he pulls the trigger. We pay him the money. He goes and buys whatever. So I mean, I'm sure ways that can be structured.
Buy a nice sports car for $200,000.
Wes, any thoughts?
Nope. I mean, I think you guys have covered all the, what I can see, all the things that it's gonna take. I mean, services and the upfront costs and, yeah.
Anything else?
What do you got?
What do I got?
I'm done.
So whether this was a good idea or a bad idea, I was in Menards the other day, and they have when you go through like their Christmas section, they have the little Christmas villages, you know, and one of the villages had a little Christmas tree in the center of town. That'd be neat if Maxwell could do something like that. So I got thinking, and I started texting Lauren and Cassidy and said, hey, if we put a Christmas tree down by the Freedom Rock, do you think we get a lot of people to show up? And they were all on top of it, saying, I think that's a fantastic idea. Get somebody to donate a tree and go from there. Well, then it turned out the idea got even bigger, and I was like, what if we did a Christmas market down there? We had a tree lighting ceremony. You can go to the market if you want to get hot chocolate and go from there. So we're working on that right now. What are your guys' thoughts on doing something like that?
My only thought is this, there was one person that put, okay, so
Cross.
it's Christmas tree,
Yep.
put the cross
Yep.
there, and that was a big hassle.
Mhm.
So I'm just afraid, I love your idea, but I'm just afraid as a city property, somebody's gonna probably complain about it.
I agree
You're gonna have one You're
100%.
just gonna have one person complain about it, that's all it's gonna take.
That I thought the same thing too, until I started thinking about all the bigger communities, Ankeny, Des Moines, all those places have
New York City.
yeah, have
New York
places
City,
with Christmas trees.
But they're not owned by,
On city.
it's not on city property.
The Ankeny's is on city property. Slater's is.
And
New
it's
York
not
holiday
a Christmas tree, it's a Yule tree,
Or a holiday.
Holiday
a
tree.
holiday tree. Because there are other traditions other than Christianity that celebrate the holidays with a Yule tree. So
What are you looking for?
that is a significantly different
Somebody's got to build a base for it.
Across.
than a cross.
One time I thought about expanding, or putting in a new driveway.
I was gonna say, I have 7 in my
And I
backyard
got
that
a
need to
nice
come
sized
down
tree that
Really?
would have to be taken out
for
too.
serious.
Well,
I mean, it would be a decent tree, it would probably be
our first step
16 feet tall.
our first step was going to be reaching out to Sandra and seeing if she wanted to donate. I said, I don't think I'd have a problem. I'm sticking a sign out in front saying sponsored by Christmas Tree Farm. So
Yeah, I don't know if she has any
That big.
big trees.
the other thing that we're thinking, how do we get lights? We talked about doing sponsorships, or if anybody wanted to donate a Christmas.
Well, there's
light.
electricity to the
And then
Freedom
more
Rock.
LED lights don't take much at all.
Yeah.
You can plug in 120 strings at a time, so.
And then there was also discussion of that night that we had the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, that we have all these nonprofits come in and decorate Christmas trees that would go into the community center, and people would pay a free will donation and they would vote on their favorite Christmas tree. From there, half of that money would go to Mark and the other half would go to the winning nonprofit. So it's in the works, trying to figure it out.
They don't need a tree, they're just a pole and a lot of strings of
That's
lights
right.
come down too.
That's right.
You can use it over and over again.
Any other thoughts on that?
Good idea.
That's all I got. Anything else from the council before we move on? Hearing none, we'll go to consent agenda. Approval October 5th, 2020 minutes. And approval of current bills as presented.
Move the approval of the minutes and the bills.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Alex. Discussion. Hearing none. Start at the top. Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
I was gone for the first hour. Do I have to abstain?
No.
No.
You were
Yes.
here.
Ken.
Yes.
Item 10.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Try to drag it out. Motion by Ken, second by Alex. Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Ken.
Yep.
Steve.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned 9:23.
Actually, it's 10:23 according to my box.
You can go ahead and press end.
Would we were if we ever